Those 10 years, I spent my time propelling him to become a world-renowned lead pianist. However, just as he reached the pinnacle of success and fame, I turned around and walked away. Everyone laughed at me for being a fool. Only I knew that it was time for this 10-year secret crush to end. Later, a video of the top-tier pianist's engagement ceremony went viral across the entire internet. Bai Ningbing was seen treading on the shards of a $1 million high-fashion wedding dress, eyes red with fury, searching for me like crazy. When I went to submit my resignation, Bai Ningbing's long, slender fingers paused on the piano keys. He turned his head, a trace of confusion lingering in those beautiful eyes. Why? I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of the piano room, struggling to keep my voice calm. "Miss Bai, I am not young anymore. It's time I started a family." After a brief pause, I added, "A while ago, back in my hometown, my relatives introduced me to a suitable blind date. To ensure a smooth resignation, I fabricated a lie that wouldn't hurt anyone." Bai Ningbing's fingers tapped lightly on the keys, a habitual movement when he was agitated. Scattered notes echoed through the room as if they were whispering something. Seeing his slight restlessness, a trace of bitter relief welled up in my heart. After a long silence, Bai Ningbing placed the resignation application on top of the piano. "I can give you a vacation. As for the resignation, I hope you'll reconsider." For a moment, my heart wavered. A voice inside kept tempting me. "Stay, stay. That way you can always be by his side." But logic told me, "Feng Yuan, he is getting engaged to Xiaoyan." Having feelings for an engaged woman or getting engaged to Xiaoyan. Having feelings for an engaged woman or married woman in thought was a notion I shouldn't have. My hand hesitated in the air for a long time, but ultimately, I didn't take back the application. The work of a manager is too busy. After I get married, I want a relatively stable life. I will hand over all my current work properly. I'm sorry, Miss Bai. Having said all there was to say, Bai Ningbing spoke no more. He only said softly, "I understand. I wish you a happy marriage." Before I left the room, Bai Ningbing had already immersed himself back into his world of piano. To him, I was likely just the most competent one among his many staff members. That day, I sat in the lounge, staring at his performance photo on the wall, allowing my thoughts to go blank for the first time. Usually, I was so busy I didn't even have time for a sip of water. I had to handle his performance schedule, take care of his daily life, and remain reachable at all times. If he had any need, I had to be on the scene immediately, shouldering the workload of several people alone. Of course, he paid me handsomely. Over the years, it allowed me to buy a house in Magic City, Shanghai. "Brother Yuan!" Xiao Zhang called me several times before I snapped out of it. "Brother Yuan," Miss Bai said for you to go to the club first to set up tonight's party. Tonight's party was to celebrate the return of Bai Yao from the Vienna Conservatory of Music. Those attending were all people from Bai Ningbing's circle. The younger generation of the wealthy elite were born with silver spoons and looked down on everyone. Logically, their circle was exclusive, but there was no choice. I was simply too capable. A manager who could both manage everyone's emotions and arrange an event flawlessly was far too rare. When I arrived at the club, I immediately threw myself into the setup. From the vintage of the wine to the placement of the cutlery, down to the dietary restrictions of every guest, I arranged everything meticulously. Swap the champagne for sparkling water. Mr. Ye is quitting alcohol. Raise the AC temperature. President Chu is sensitive to the cold. Remember to prepare aged pu'er tea. Miss Han loves it most. As night fell, the guests arrived one after another. Yun Yao was the first to show up. Seeing me, she gave a greeting. "When will Ningbing arrive?" I glanced at my watch and answered cautiously. "He is still rehearsing at the Vienna Music Hall. He should arrive in about an hour." She slumped onto the leather sofa, exhaustion in her eyes and her face slightly pale. I asked the waiter to turn down the music and brought over a cashmere blanket. "The autumn nights are chilly. You should rest for a bit. The others will be a while." She took the blanket and joked, "Why don't you stop following Ningbing and be my butler instead? I'll double your salary." In this circle there were too many sycophants, which made my poised and neither haughty nor humble attitude seem exceptionally precious. I smiled and teased back. Then I'll thank Miss Yun in advance. If I ever lose my job, at least I'll have a backup plan. As the night deepened and the lights grew bright, the guests were all present. Bai Ningbing arrived in a black evening gown and high heels, elegant with a hint of coldness. I took his coat, thinking this might be the last time I served him. After a few rounds of drinks, I found the right moment to announce my decision to resign to the group. Raising my glass, I said sincerely, "Thank you all for taking care of me these years. I'll see you around in the future." The table fell silent for a moment. Yun Yao raised her glass to break the silence. "To be honest, at first I thought you had other intentions for Ningbing. Now it seems we overthought it." Everyone understood what she meant. After all, Bai Ningbing's previous managers had all been stung because of their confessions. Later, he simply switched to using female managers, but surprisingly there were still male assistants who tried to sneak him love letters, which became a laughingstock for a time. Someone teased, "I didn't expect someone could actually resist Ningbing's charm." Bai Ningbing elegantly sipped his red wine and laughed coldly, "Boring." After dinner, a few people gathered to drink and pass the time. During this, Yun Yao casually asked, "Ningbing, I heard President Xiao is very interested in you." My hand froze. The motion of pouring wine for Bai Ningbing stalled in midair. After a moment, he replied nonchalantly, "It's just a family alliance. It doesn't matter who I marry." In their circle, marriage was always a bond of interest. Feelings were the most insignificant thing. It seemed he had accepted this arrangement, taking the family's expectations in full. I had seen Xiao Yan, a rising star in the business world, young and promising. He was indeed a good candidate. Part of me wished Bai Ningbing could have a different ending, but reality is often unsatisfying. The party lasted until late at night. The guests' drivers had been waiting for a long time, but Bai Ningbing's driver was delayed by a temporary matter. Thus, the two of us stood at the club entrance. The streetlights stretched our shadows long. These moments of being alone are the most dangerous. Those suppressed feelings always want to burst forth. But Bai Ningbing just stood there quietly, the alcohol making him look a bit less cold. Soon, the driver arrived. Bai Ningbing turned to look at me. "Leaving?" I shook my head and gave a polite smile. "Thank you, Miss Bai. My fiancée happens to be on her way." He nodded and slid elegantly into the car. Finally, I was alone. I pulled off my tie and leaned against the edge of a flower bed, suddenly not knowing where to go. A light rain arrived unexpectedly. The fine mist hitting my suit felt exceptionally cold. I stood by the roadside waiting for a car. In such a high-end community, it's hard to hail a taxi. Because of road construction, the driver had to take a detour. Bai Ningbing didn't expect to see me again. I was standing in the rain, suit jacket draped over my arm, looking somewhat lonely. She was slightly stunned. She had never seen the usually rigorous manager Fang look so casual. At the company, I always wore a well-fitted suit, my tie always meticulously fastened. She had encountered too many men who deliberately displayed their charm, loosening their ties to show collarbones and abs, acting accidental in front of her. But Manager Fang was different. My professional ability and perfect sense of boundaries were why she decided to keep me by her side. As the car was about to pass, the driver in the front spoke. "Do we need to give Manager Fang a lift?" Bai Ningbing's gaze was calm as she responded flatly. "Forget it." She didn't have a good impression of that belated fiancé. Although Manager Fang was usually shrewd, he seemed to have poor judgment in relationships. But this was his private matter, after all. It wasn't appropriate for her to interfere too much. The car seemed to flick past me. Perhaps it was just my illusion. In such a high-end residential area, a pedestrian like me was indeed a rare sight. The rain soaked my clothes, and my legs had gone numb. Finally, I caught a taxi. When I got home, it was late at night. The apartment was suffocatingly silent. I always told people I had a happy family, a beloved fiancé, and many close friends. Others said how perfect my life was, how enviable. But in reality, I had nothing. No family, no lover, no friends. In my first year of junior high, my dad was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer. The illness recurred shortly after surgery. On a morning that seemed perfectly ordinary, my mom left the house as usual and was never heard from again. She took all the savings, leaving only my gravely ill father and my young self. Upon learning of this blow, my dad was strangely calm, silently accepting treatment. During his hospitalization, when his condition occasionally improved, he would even cook for me. One day, coming home from school, the table was covered in dishes. My dad sat opposite me with a gentle smile on his face. For some reason, a sense of unease surged in my heart. The food emitted a strange smell. I noticed a newly bought bottle of pesticide in the kitchen. At that moment, I realized that even a gravely ill person could erupt with terrifying strength that left me unable to move. While he was coughing violently, I broke free from his grip and fled frantically to the rooftop. My dad, face covered in tears, reached out his arms to me, his voice choking. "Child, this world is too cruel. Papa can't bear for you to face it alone. Come with me. In the next life, we'll be father and son again." Tears blurred my vision. I was exhausted. How I wanted to smell the familiar scent of tobacco on my father again. Perhaps ending it like this would be fine. After all, I couldn't see any hope in living. On the howling, cold rooftop, my father's embrace was the only warmth. He gripped my hand and slowly moved toward the edge. At the very moment of the fall, a pair of slender but powerful hands grabbed me firmly. She held on to me for dear life, refusing to let go no matter how I struggled. As I swayed in the gale, I only remembered those eyes flashing with a determined light. I survived, but my father was gone forever. The person who saved me was Bai Ningbing. She not only gave me my life, but gave me the meaning to continue. To repay her kindness, I felt guiltily that I had failed my father. At that time, I was like a drowning person, desperately trying to catch a life-saving straw, and Bai Ningbing was my light of hope. When the rescuers arrived, I clutched her hand tightly and looked up, asking, "How can I thank you?" The 14-year-old Bai Ningbing looked down at me and said seriously, "Just come find me in the future." From that night I lost my father. My life seemed to stand still. Only Bai Ningbing was the driving force for me to move forward. Tonight, I was once again startled awake by a nightmare. In the dream, the past repeated itself. My father questioned why I abandoned him, and my mother's cold eyes as she left still stung me. I woke up drenched in sweat, my throat so raspy I couldn't make a sound. The thermometer showed 38.8 degrees Celsius. Usually, I would just take a fever reducer and keep working, acting as if nothing were wrong. But this time, I decided to take a leave of absence to rest and think seriously about the direction of my life. Bai Ningbing arrived at the piano room and found I had taken sick leave. She frowned in thought, her impression of that fiancé becoming even worse. The assistant, Xiao Ye, temporarily took